So I made my recent video where I said the story for Marvel Spider-Man 2 was not in a sense positioned to, surpass my expectations, and a glaring story beat that kind of dampened the danger of the world that they had built was actually bringing MJ into the story in a forceful way, even after their fans had said, we're not really huge on this. And I thought to myself, we can actually base this stuff on just, well, why is MJ here? And it will just leave room for people to say, well, it seems like you just have a problem against MJ. So I thought, why don't we just compare with the closest game that's on the, DC side, which is the Arkham games, and see how those characters in the game were handled and how the world, having been set up to be a gruesome, brutal world, how that world was actually respected and the heroes were put front and center to face the danger, and those who were actually supporting the cast and supporting the heroes were doing stuff in the background but not necessarily being thrown into danger, because I think that will probably give us a better way to start. So MJ is a beloved character. She's a journalist. We know exactly what she does, but in my opinion, seeing her in the position that the writers at Insomniac decided to put her in is a betrayal of the fact that you have Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and Felicia Harding in that game. You also have Silver Saber in that world. We've seen her before. We also have Wraith, and we have Tombstone, whom we saw briefly. And these characters, heroes, anti-heroes, and all, have the capability to take on Venom and Hunter and so on and so forth. Yet the writers trample over all of them and make their way and reach down the back and say it's got to be MJ. To me, I think that is absurd. Why? In the Arkham world, it's almost like reaching back there and picking Vicky Vale and saying, hey, Vicky, you want to go out and take on some thugs out there in Arkham while, the Arkham Knight and Scarecrow and Harvey parade around? That's to me how it seems. If you think that is too, much of an excess, why don't we even try someone who I even think is, as much as they may be a, in quote, civilian, even though they're not a civilian, Jim Gordon. Many of you remember when, Barbara got captured, when she got kidnapped. So those of you who are in the Batman, mythos, who know the stories from the Arkham games, you're going to know exactly what I'm saying as we're going. So if you don't know and you miss a beat, that's fine. Maybe play the Arkham games. And I remember when that happened, he jumps and runs out. He's like, no, 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 no. I spoke to her. She's not here. So he just gets in his emotions. He yells at Batman. He jumps in his car and he runs out there in the open world. And boy, does he get his butt handed to him. And you have to pretty much protect him with the Batmobile. Many of you remember that part because Jim was going to get smoked. There is no doubt about that. Right. He was not equipped. I get it, because they're using these armored cars to chase him and so on and so forth. But even he had to go back and lean into the job and the umbrella of the heroes and what they're there for. So he pretty much behaves himself. He calms down and gets his, angry, hot-headed self into the Batmobile so that the superhero who was equipped for the job could actually get the job done. In my opinion, if you're not going to respect that your characters and your heroes and anti-heroes that you set up are capable of doing the job, and you reach back and you bring a civilian, you put them in harm's way, to me, it says that you've destroyed whatever perception you've made of your world, or you've dampened it down. That's what it says to me, in my honest opinion, because I think a lot of this is kind of getting mixed up. If we even go further, let's just backtrack a little bit to another Arkham game, Arkham Origins. And before we even talk about it, we'll kind of, let me set this up by saying Anne LeMay, she is a writer for, Warner Brothers Montreal. And I remember during their interviews, they were asking, her some questions, and they said, did you guys ever entertain, the thought of Alfred going out there and, fighting bad guys and doing all this? And, she responded and said, yeah, we actually did consider Alfred at one point, but we eventually kind of, backed away from that idea. I think they backed away from that idea because if the world is as gruesome and dangerous as they had built it up to be, then putting Alfred in harm's way when they had 4 hero characters just didn't make any sense. Because now you have the League of Shadows, very, very brutal organization. They're just straight assassins. They'll just kill you. Alfred is not equipped to fight all of those guys. They use magic and all this stuff, and, that doesn't work. Then you have the Court of Owls, who have these talons that are basically undead and stuff. So it doesn't really work out in that sense. Plus, if you backtrack to Arkham Origins, you'll realize that even when Batman was out there, Alfred caught some of the smoke when Bane pretty much invaded the Batcave. So in heroics, when you're writing heroes, or from what we've seen or what I've seen, I guess I should put it in this light. When you're actually fighting, villains and stuff, those who are not equipped to actually deal with these threats, I think successful writers need to put them in the safety of those who are equipped to actually deal with that. Another character that really comes to mind, and this is a character that's just out the, you'll usually be like, this is out the wazoo, is Tariel in The Hobbit. She, in my opinion, is a character that they introduce so well. She's very capable of doing her job, and they're able to write her out as a character that just is courageous, a beast, very good at what she does, and she's able to destroy these orcs and so on and so forth. They also put her in a position where she's able to actually help protect the dwarves and the children of that dragon slayer guy that, if you watch the Hobbit movies, right? They put her in that position where she's able to get that done and is able to pretty much help them come out, of danger, because they are in that position vulnerable. And you even see even these dwarves that are warriors at this point, they're tending to their wounded friend, but they're vulnerable at that point. And that sells that the world is very gruesome and the world is a dangerous place that they've put it in. When you send MJ into this place to go deal with the minions of Venom, or even worse, she pretty much takes a punch for Peter Parker. She jumps in front of a Venom punch for Peter, my man that can actually eat all kinds of damage. His girlfriend, that's a journo, jumps in front and takes a decking from this big, massive symbiote monster, so that the devs can, or the writers can say, oh yeah, we made a hero out of her. It's like, yo, if this girl can take a punch, then everybody can take a punch from Venom. And what's Venom anymore? How much of a threat is he? And so it starts to kind of minimize all that. And if you think it's fine, that's your prerogative. But I just can't see it anymore. I'm like, oh, is that easy? Is that simple? Right? And then even when you still come around and you actually consider other characters that are supporting characters and anti-heroes and so on and so forth, I want to present to you another well set up character who understands the danger of the world. Nevertheless, their heroinicism, I guess that's a word. If it's not, I made it up. Take it for whatever it is you want. Is actually quite critical to the story. And I think, and I'm certain that Batman will not have been able to actually get the job done in Arkham Knight without her. And that is Poison Ivy. Many people don't say it, but she is actually, in my opinion, a pivotal character in the story. But we are not forgetting that she is, in my opinion, very well equipped. Not even my opinion. In all actuality, the most equipped person to have dealt with Scarecrow's fear toxin. And in all of that, it takes her out, thereby continuing to sell that this world is a gruesome place. This Arkham is not a place where you want to be. Even Jim was like, oh, I'm so relieved that Barbara's out. It's a dangerous place. Can you imagine if we took Vicky out here to start tasing bad guys? I mean, did we not have to rescue her from sniper fire in Arkham City? So it's not like, I guess you see the quality of writers, and I think this is where it comes down to. Maybe, like I said, we're spoiled, and I know fandom, Batman, or let's come to the substance of the writing. Paul Dini pretty much, he destroys. He just basically makes a lot of these other writers look like, he should be grading their assignments. He should be professor, and they should be turning in their work to him. Because in Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, the quality of his work is there. When he didn't write for Arkham Knight, because I guess maybe scheduling or whatever it is, or maybe Rocksteady thinking they were going to go at it themselves, they wanted to pursue the story in one direction or whatever. A lot of people saw the glaring, plot holes in Arkham Knight. There were. I'm not saying Arkham Knight is a perfect, game. I'm just saying that, that quality was felt because, a writer of his caliber was just not there. Not saying he's the best writer and he was just born an enigma. You kind of have to learn. But at that point, he was already at that stage. And then before I even let this video, run out, I'll also throw in, Catwoman, who, according to many, have argued, is basically a copycat of Black Cat. And if you look at Arkham City and the way the game actually progresses, you will realize that, she is very helpful in that situation. She is very, very, pivotal in the game, as well as Talia. So there are a lot of, characters that the Batman games pull into the pool to be able to get the world, to look like this terrible place that is only, that if it wasn't for these heroes, that, the civilization in those contexts will be decimated, So I think this is why I'm making the argument, and I never really put out, all of these points. Again, I didn't feel it was necessary. We in the video game fight school, community, we've played a lot of these games, so we kind of know the way the story beats work. We kind of know the way all this stuff move. But if it had to come down to it, I mean, just the Joker alone is such a dangerous character that you need Batman to deal with him. I mean, see what he even did to even Batman's associate Jason Todd. Right? So you sell a world when you're writing in these instances that is just so terrible. Unless you're writing an action comedy game, then yeah, you can make it a joke or something. But I strongly believe that they really did miss an opportunity, and they misplaced the positioning of MJ in their in Spider-Man 2 game. I really think that with all of the threats out there, Miles, Venom as an anti-hero, Felicia Harding, or maybe someone else among the plethora of characters that they actually showed in that reveal. Many of you remember, right, when Kraven looked through his little tablet. They showed them all. I think they should have pulled from that pool with ease. These are my thoughts. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Peace out.